Okay. Good afternoon, students. We will start with our assembly prayer. Oh Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for ways in which you provide for us all, for your protection around us. Yeah, students. So in last lecture, we have started with second chapter. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in last lecture, we finished with our first chapter in that Saturday. We revised it on next previous lecture, and then we have started with second chapter, right? So in second chapter, we have done our first basic part related with ER modeling. That is, what are the components of the ER diagram? I'll just show you that. So before going ahead, I'll just ask you question. I'm not asking questions now on modeling. We'll directly go with a ER diagram because that is our requirement today. So we have started with ER diagram. I think I'll stop sharing. We'll first go through the question answer. Yeah. Okay. So first question to you people. What is an ER diagram? I'm not asking what is an entity. I'm asking what is an ER model, you can say.
Collection of entities
Collection of entity. Okay.
and the
Other.
relationship among the entities.
Relationship among entities.
Okay. Collection of entities and relationship among entities. But for what purpose we are doing this? To get the overall logical structure
Ma'am, to
of your
classify the interest.
classify the interest. Okay, we can say giving the specification of an enterprise schema that represent the overall logical structure of the data or database with the help of entities, relationship, and so on, right? So for that, this ER diagram, whichever or model which we are started learning, is very important, or you can say very useful in mapping the meanings and interaction of real world enterprises into a conceptual schema, because with the help of this you can move ahead. With the help of this you will come to know everything about your enterprise. Okay, so in real world application it is one of the useful part of your project, you can say. Fine. Then we have studied the definitions of what is an entity. What is an entity?
Entity is an object that exists and is distinguishable from the other objects.
Yeah, entity is an object, or you can say it is a real world object which exists and is distinguishable from other object. Correct. So therefore that we have seen the examples. So many examples we have seen. Now what do you mean by entity set? Entity is a part of entity set, or entity sets are nothing but a part of entities. What is entity set now?
An entity set is a set of entities that of the same type that share the same properties.
Yes, those are of same type, means they require the same properties, same attributes, you can say, in terms of ER diagram. They are known as the entity set. Then we have seen the attributes. What do you mean by attributes? Attributes are part of the entity or part of the relationship. Both term we have seen. So what are attributes?
Attributes describe the entities. They are the
They
descriptive.
are descriptive.
One person was already talking. I think Steve. Yeah, you continue first.
Attributes is attributes are the descriptive properties of
Yeah.
the entities.
Yeah, attributes are nothing but the descriptive properties of the entities. So those are, we can say, attributes of your ER diagram. Then for that we have seen example related with that. What is a domain? Domain, anyone?
A set of permitted values
Yes, set of
possessed by an
permitted
attribute.
for attribute. That word is very important. For each attribute, some set of permitted values are given. That is known as a domain. Then we have seen number of symbols which we can use for ER diagram. That I will ask you later on. What is a relationship set? What is a relationship set? It is connecting what? Anyone?
Attribute.
Relationship set is connected with attribute. Mainly it is entities, and attribute are descriptive property of the relationship. That is the same way like entities, right? That we have seen. Then we have seen the degree of relationship set. What is the degree of relationship set?
The number of entities which are in relation.
That
That is the degree.
participate in that relationship. Correct. So if two entity sets are participating in a relationship, it is called as a, if two entity sets binary, and if three, and if three are participating, ternary. It is ternary. And if more than three, it is called as a n-ary, right? Then we have learned about the attribute types. Different types. Yeah, different types of attributes are, one is simple and composite. So composite attribute, can you give one example for that?
Address. Is it
Name.
Name has middle
Address,
name.
Name.
which can be further classified into another attribute. Okay. Then we have learned about single valued and multi-valued. So multi-valued attributes, example,
Phone number.
phone number, which will have, which the attribute which can have more than one value. Okay. So phone number we have seen. You can also have email ID. Okay. So that is, what is the notation for multi-valued attribute?
Double oval.
Double oval or double ellipse. Okay. Then we have seen derived attribute, the attribute which can be derived from another attribute of the same entity set. That is known as a derived attribute, and it is represented by
Dotted oval.
dotted ellipse. Correct. So entities are represented with a rectangle, relationship with a diamond, primary key with a underline below the name of the attribute. Then we have seen the attribute which are represented with ellipse, and as per that, composite, derived and multi-valued. Okay. So that was done in last lecture. So I'll just share with the PPTs. Okay. So here, last lecture we have already covered two types of this, one-to-one and one-to-many. I'll just go with that so that we'll get linked with that. So cardinality or multiplicity is nothing but number of occurrences of one entity for a single occurrence of the related entity. That is nothing but number of entities from one entity set participating in a connected or attached relationship set. That is known as a cardinality or multiplicity. Okay. So for that, those are divided into four types: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. So I've seen one-to-one diagram for all the one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-many. This is okay. We require this. Arrow towards the entity set. Arrow towards the entity set from the relationship set indicate that only one entity is participating in that particular entity set. Okay, so that is known as a one. Solid line towards the entity set. Solid line towards the entity set from your relationship set indicate that many entities from that entity set are participating in that relationship set. Okay, so for that we have seen this example. Here you can say a customer borrowing loan. So one customer can borrow. Here it is solid line. See, from relationship to loan. Okay. So towards loan it is solid line. So it indicates many. Many means 0 to many. Okay. So customer borrowing loan. So a arrow towards the customer indicate one customer. So from these customer, whatever your entities are having, for example, we are having customer as ABC, PQR, RST. So ABC customer can borrow many loan. One customer can borrow many loan. Clear with this? Similarly, suppose we are having PQR. So PQR is one customer who can borrow many loan. So arrow indicate one and solid line indicate many. Suppose I am having this way. So here what it indicates? Many customer. Sorry, a customer instead of a customer now we are having many. One customer is associated with at most one loan. With at most one loan here in many to one. So customer can have more than one loan. So here at most one indicate loan has to be one. So here you can have customer who can go for one loan only. So many to one. Many customer can have one loan. So suppose I am having ABC, I am having PQR. They together can have only one loan. Okay. Similarly, now many to many. Here a customer is associated with several loans via borrower. See here. Solid line indicate. So one customer is associated to several loans and one loan is associated to many customers. So both side relationship is from here one to many, from here one to many. So it indicates many to many. Okay. A customer is associated with several loans. One customer can take many loans. Okay. And one loan can be taken by many customers. Okay, suppose I am having home loan. So home loan can be taken by many customers, or you can say one loan number. Suppose particular loan number is there. You can have joint account here. So it is allowed for that. Those two people can be related with that particular loan. So that is many customers together can go for one loan and many loan can be taken by one customer. Okay, so one to many. Oh, sorry, from here one to many, from here one to many indicate many to many. Many customers are related with many loan together. Okay, when you will start working on ER diagram, you will get more idea about this, and that time we will solve this problem if you are not yet clear with these examples. Okay, but get this idea or concept clearly understood because it required in your ER diagram. Okay, now I have added few more notations over here because sometimes in exam, instead of giving the cardinality, so I'll just show you few things. Related with the cardinality, student, we can see, you can see here, we can indicate one to many like this. One to many. Many can be represented as M. or I can represent it as n, capital N. So it is allowed one to many. It is small m or small n is also accepted. Remember this, because in exam what notation they will ask you or they will give you, we don't know. So this is one to many, or else you can also write like this, one to many star. Star means many. Remember this, one to many. Or there are few more notation, that is one indicate arrow towards the entity. Arrow towards the entity, and many indicate a single solid line. Okay, so this is again one to many. Okay, remember all these notation. Most probably this notation is used. If it is not visible, any doubt, please let me know. If most probably many time this is the popular notation, one to using in ER diagram, one to star, but sometimes people may go for other notations, so you should aware with all those notations. Other than this, in one exam, I have not covered that topic during the lecture, but suddenly we saw the notation in exam, that is something like this. Okay, I think I have added that question somewhere at the end. So with this diagram, in exam, suddenly they ask the question like this. This was the ER diagram given to the student, and they gave notation like this, something 0, 1. Instead of having only 1, you are having something like 0, 1. Instead of having only n, you are having something like 0, n. Instead of 1, it is 1, 1, and so on. Many places the notations are there. And student got confused really, because this was not added in their syllabus notation, and it was asked in the exam. So for you people, I have added that, those notations. Here you can see that was 1, 1 was written for one side. It indicates minimum 1 and maximum 1. On other side of the relationship, again if it is 1, 1, it indicates minimum 1 and maximum 1. So if in your exam, if it is 1, 1 and 1, 1 from both the side of your relationship connected with your entity set, then it is known as a 1 to 1 relationship. This concept you require finally to go ahead with the relationship model. Okay, relational model, we require this 1 to 1. So whenever it is 1, 1 or only 1, it is 1 to 1. Okay, same way, if we are having 0, 1, minimum 0, maximum 1. Minimum 0 and maximum 1 means optional, right? So maximum is 1 only. So it indicates 1, left side 1, and here minimum 0, maximum 1, again 1. So here we can say, I think, see here, minimum 0, maximum 1 means finally max to max we can go for 1. Similarly, minimum 1, maximum 1. So max to max we can go for 1. So it is 1 to 1. Okay, optional at one side, that is 0 or 1. So that is 1 only. Maximum we have to consider. So it is 1 to 1. Again, same way, if it is minimum 0 and maximum many, so it is having many, maximum is many, so many is accepted. Similarly, minimum 0 and maximum again many, so many is accepted. So it is many to many. So don't get confused if such notations are asked in exam. Again here 1 to 1, maximum is 1, so it is 1. And here maximum is many, so it is 1 to many. Clear? These notations are simple, but as it was not covered by the for the student during that time, so it was difficult for them to understand. It was simple, but we can't say anything about that, whether student will understand or not. Okay. So we'll move ahead. So cardinality is clear for everyone, 1 to 1, 1 to many. If any doubt, please let me know in chat box. Otherwise we will move ahead. For cardinality or mapping cardinality, that is one to one, one to many to one, and many to many with all notations. If it is clear, just put your reply in chat box. Yeah. So you have written, many students are written clear. So we'll move ahead then. Yeah. Next one is roles. What is a role? Role is nothing but something what that person is doing with that related with that particular entity set. So that is known as a role for that particular entity, you can say. So they specify how the employees, here in this example you can see we are having employee as one of, we are having employee as our entity set. So employees are my entity set, but in employee, suppose consider the banking example. Okay, in bank, manager is also called as an employee. Other worker who are there, or maybe clerk, we know they are also called also known as a employee of the bank. But specifically, they have some role. Manager is having the post of manager outside board, or you can see the board that is a manager, or you can say cashier, and so on. So something like that is written. So that is nothing but their role. So that role also you can specify in ER diagram. Sometimes these roles are also called as quantifiers. Okay, quantifiers word I am telling you because you should know aware with all the words which can be used by the external examiner or paper setter. So that is you may get a word as a role or quantifiers. Okay, so these quantifiers are nothing but the role names. For example, this manager, this worker. So now why this arrow is towards the manager, sorry, towards the employee for from manager, and for worker it is not there? Can anyone explain me this? Why this arrow is given? There is one arrow like this here, and here.
It's only there is only one relationship, one to
Yes,
one. That's why there is an arrow.
one to one. No, come
No, no,
again.
not one to one. There is only one relationship. Like there is one manager
Yes,
for
correct.
many employers.
That is the correct word. That is in bank or in any suppose organization you are taking for one sale, you can say there is only one manager exists. So we can say one manager works as an employee, and worker, here you can see there are many workers working as an employee. So many workers works for bank, or you can say as an employee, or one manager works as an employee. Okay, so both are employee, but as per their role we got the cardinality as well as we got their specification, role names. Okay, so that is about the role, and that is only written over there. So always this role name is written above the line or next to the line. Okay, here they above the line in the sense downwards. Here the above lines means upward. Remember that. Any side you can write, but it is specifically followed this way. In between you should not write because it is then confusion whether for upper line you have written or bottom line you have written. If it is something like this, because we are having this relationship connected. Works for is a relationship which is connected only with the employee. So this same notation I can also write as employee, for example manager. I'll just show you so that more concept will get clear. You can also have the things like this. I'm having here, I'm not drawing the diagram right now, I'm just writing employee uh, connected with we are having manager. Yeah, So employees are nothing but connected with relationship as a works for with employee. Employee works for banking system, but works for is a relationship connected again the same entity. Okay, in your diagram you can see it was written like that. So now here I will write they are working as a manager and they are working as a worker. So here for this relationship towards this employee is a manager. So I am having cardinality as 1 and here I am having cardinality as many. So one manager works for many workers, that is employee. Okay, or many workers works for one manager or employee. Okay, so that is the diagram represent. In diagram, as both side you are having same entity, so it is not represented with a two rectangle or two entity set, because that is usually not allowed in ER diagram to represent the same entity twice. You can represent like this only. Okay, the concept only I showed you over there. So roles are clear. So we'll move ahead. Main part of our this chapter, that is how to draw an ER diagram. Somewhere if possible note down these 5 steps to start with an ER diagram. First thing, you have to identify the entities. What all entities you require. So basically, when we want to start with a ER diagram, we required a problem statement for that. So now we'll start with our group work. I asked you people to start create your group, right? In group, 3 of you have selected one title or one case study. For that case study, you have to write a problem statement. That problem statement you will convert into the ER diagram. And on that problem statement, you will apply these 5 steps which we are going to see now. One is, right now you don't start anything for your problems case study. Just keep your problem statement ready. Okay. So now first one is a define entities. That is, from your problem statement, identify which all nouns are present. All the nouns in your problem statement which are present will act as an entity set for your ER diagram. Try to see that whatever entity set you required for your ER diagram should present in your problem statement, so that it will give you clear idea of about your ER diagram. Okay, so all the nouns which present in your problem statement or description are nothing but known as a entities. Okay, second rule is define relationship. Once you have identified the entities, you have to find out how those entities are related with each other. So for that you have to find out the relationship set. So based on the noun you have got the entities. Similarly, underline the verbs present in your problem statement. Those verbs specifically are part of the one of the sentence you can say. For example, I can say a customer borrows loan from the bank. So here, customer borrows loan from the bank. I have 3 nouns, right? Customer, then a loan and bank, right? So those 3 will be a part of my entities. Then customer borrows loan. So borrows will be my verb and it will act as a relationship between customer and loan. Clear? Clear, student, how to identify the relationship set just with the help of noun and verb. Okay. Now, sometimes it is possible that the verb is not present or sentence is not present in your problem statement to identify the relationship between 2 of the entity. But you are thinking the way that I need to show this particular relationship between these particular two entities. So in that case, you can add the line in your problem statement related with those the connection between those two entities, or if you have already submitted your problem statement somewhere, you can directly add in your ER diagram about those relationships set. But it's always better to have that as a part of your problem statement. Okay, that is about the relationship set. Third is add attributes to your entities and relations. So whatever your you need to add the attributes. Now here, if I am having customer, it's not like that I need to specify all the attributes also in my problem statement. No need. Those attributes you can add from your side in your ER diagram. There is no requirement to show the attributes in your problem statement. So specifically, if you require any particular attribute which is most important or which is related with mapping cardinality, then in that case you can show it to the, or you can add it to the problem statement. Otherwise, attributes, if you are not adding, it is accepted. Fine. Next, these are three steps. These are two steps. After once the attributes are done, add the cardinality. What all cardinality, that is we have seen: one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many, that you need to add. Then last one, define the primary key. Now here, defining the primary key, as I told you, the entity set which consists, or entities in entity set which consists of primary key, or the primary key present for the entity set, is known as which type of entity set? Again, I'll repeat the question. Last time during lecture, I told you this. An entity set which consists of primary key is known as which type of entity set?
Strong entity.
Yes, correct. So strong entity set, or you can also say identifying entity set. Okay, strong is the correct word. Identifying we required in next point. That for that purpose I am saying, because it can identify each and every entity of its set uniquely. So that is known as the identifying entity set or strong entity set. So last step of our ER diagram is to define the primary key. Fine. So these are the 5 important steps to draw an ER diagram. Now here, this is something known as a problem statement for hospital management system. Here, I have not taken everything in consideration. This is a sample I have taken so that you will actually get idea what way you are supposed to write your problem statement. This is half of the things I have taken into consideration, because one of the group has already selected hospital management system, so they can elaborate this. Fine. So here the problem statement will look like this, or you can start like this, or you can write like this. Those are nothing but just sentences. So I'll just go with the full screen. Here, patients are treated in a single ward by the doctors assigned to them. Now here I have put this check boxes, check marks. Those are not required in your problem statement. Problem statement are continuation, like an paragraph. Okay, I have created like this for your understanding of each sentences. Patients are treated. So whatever is in pink color are nothing but the nouns, correct? So nouns are my entities, and whatever is in blue color, you can see those are my verbs. Verbs are nothing but my relationship between the entities. So patients are treated in a single word. By single word is useful to show the cardinality. By the doctors assigned to them. Okay. Usually each patient will be assigned a single doctor, but in rare cases they will have two. So doctor can be assigned as one or two. Healthcare assistant, you can also use the word as a nurses, also attend to the patients. A number of these are associated with each word. Every word you will have more than one nurses. Initially, the system will be concerned solely with drug treatment, that is your medicine treatment. Okay. Each patient is required to take a variety of drugs a certain number of times per day and for verifying length of time. So again, you can elaborate this, so many things, so many entities you required in case of a hospital, like the operation theater, then inquiry counter you're having, then special doctors can be divided into further parts such as surgeons, such as specialized doctor. Then you're having nurses, ward boys are there. So many things are required. Those you can add in this diagram. Based on this, we have done with a simple diagram. You can see patients seen by doctors. I have added here both the words, or we can say relationships. It is not at all compulsory to use the same verb which you have added into your problem statement to show into your ER diagram. That is preferable. It is always good to use that, but if you want, you can change it. Okay, but this entity names you cannot change. So patient seen by doctor or doctor see the patient. Both way you can read it. So in here, if you are only writing seen by or see, that is correct. Okay, it is not wrong if you are using only one verb. That is, patient and doctor are having a relationship as a seen, or you can also use as a checked or checkup. Doctor check the patient. Patients are checked by doctor. Okay, then it is a ternary relationship I have added here because they have shown something like that. But always it is preferable to do not to go for that. So if I want to remove these drugs, what I can do? Doctor, here I will add one more relationship such as prescribe the drugs and patient take the drugs. Okay, so two more relationship if I will add, I will remove this ternary from here. Okay, then patients and assistant, that is a nurses, or okay, or you can say junior doctors are also there. So assistant see the patient or patient seen by assistant. Okay, wards, again the wards, patients are treated in wards or assistant are associated to the wards. Clear? In this ER diagram, if you have any doubt, please let me know. This is basic ER diagram, not complete, but just to begin how to identify the entity and how to identify or use or write the relationship. For that purpose, this case study was taken. So, identifying entities, representing them with the relationship is a main aim for this particular problem statement. I have not added the remaining part, that is attributes, cardinality and primary key over here. So till here it is clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes? Aditya, something? Okay. So we'll move ahead.
Ma'am, I had one doubt.
Yes.
Now we are making on like industry management system. So we
Yes.
are making project management system.
Hmm.
So is it a good topic or is it a bad topic? Like
It is not a bad topic. The only thing is how you are writing your problem statement.
no, because it will be very big. The problem statements will be very lengthy for our
No, it is
thing
not
because they have
necessary to. See, it is not necessary to consider all the aspects.
okay.
Whatever you feel you need to be a part of your problem statement, just take those parts. So that
Okay.
way
Because the problem
using
statement.
yeah. No, if
Okay, no
if you
problem.
find the problem statement going too big, you remove few parts from that. But
Okay.
my
It is not
point,
necessary to describe each and every relation,
no,
right?
no. But
If
if
the
you are
important
drawing an ER diagram for one of the system, it is always better to show all the aspects.
Okay.
Because why I'm saying that is your one of the system, and that will be carry forward for your coding part.
Okay.
Okay? So that we will
Yes,
see
ma'am.
when we will go for your experiment part. That time we will go through your problem statement. Don't worry. Right now you just start writing it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
Yes,
doubt
ma'am.
anyone is having? If no, then we will move ahead. Yeah. So this was the simple example shown for your understanding. We will see one of the case study with complete problem statement and complete ER diagram. That will be last part. So before that, now next is the participation of an entity set in a relationship set. I'll just full screen because it is also one of the important. Okay, this question was asked for 5 marks in many times in the exam, final year exam. In short, they will ask you for write the participation of an entity set in a relationship set as a short note, or they will ask you define total and partial participation. Okay, so here when such questions are there, first you have to start with the entity set, then you have to come with the what is the relationship set, and then come to the participation. Okay, so here entities, as we have seen the cardinality, how the entity can participate into the relationship set, right? So we have seen they can one to one, one to many, and so on. So there is a two types of participation. One is the total and second is a partial. Total means each and every entity from that entity set is participating in the relationship set. Okay, each and every entity from that entity set is participating in the relationship set, then that is known as a total participation, which is represented by this double line. You can see here double line is visible in the diagram, this part. Why the double line is here? See, we will go with the example. Participation of loan in borrower is total. Participation of loan is my entity set. In loan number is the primary key. Suppose, okay, in banking system, when the loan numbers are generated, can anyone tell me when the loan numbers are generated? Suppose I am a customer of a bank, okay, and I have an account in a bank, but I have not taken any loan in a bank. So will they have any loan number in my name or related with my account?
No.
No.
No, correct. So loan numbers are generated only when some customer are taking the loan, right? So here in this loan entity set, I will have the loan number as the primary key. That is one of the attribute, and whatever amount they have taken the loan. So this data, that is, suppose this is my loan entity set with I am having as a loan number and amount, right? So I am having, suppose loan number as 101. This has taken suppose 5 lakh. Then I am having similarly 102, it has taken 10 lakh, right? So here whatever these entities, this is one entity, this is second entity, from this my loan relation, all are participating in the borrower, means they have taken the borrowed the loan, correct? Are you clear? Are you getting
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
Yes. So each and every entity from this loan table or loan relation are participating in this borrower relation. That is known as total participation. Okay, so that is represented with this double line here. Okay, now he come back to here, customer. Partial participation. Partial participation means few of the entities from that entity set are participating in that relationship set. Okay, now coming to this example, so that it will coming to the example, like suppose customer, you all 64 student of SCIT are customer of your uh, one of the bank. We have taken, suppose all of you have opened your account in a bank. Okay, so you all are customer. Out of that, 10 students have taken education loan from that bank. Okay, 10 students have taken borrowed the loan from the bank, right? So remaining 54 students have not borrowed any loan from the bank. So those 54 students are not participating in this borrow relationship. Only those 10 students are participating in the borrower, right? And remaining 54, they are customer of the bank. Customer are there, but not participating in the borrower. Are participating in the relationship set. That is known as a partial participation. Clear the concept, total and partial? It is simple.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Next is, now we, as we have already covered, with the strong entity set. So now this is one of the important concept now. Why I have covered the or I have told you the strong entity part for your ER diagram, because there are two types of entity set. One is strong entity set and second is weak entity set. Okay, strong and weak. What about the strong entity set we have studied? That is an entity set sorry, first strong will go. Strong entity set are the entity set for which the primary key exists, and with the help of that primary key, they can identify each and every entity of your entity set. That is known as a strong entity set. Fine. Now, on other side, the entity set which cannot have their primary key, or the entity set for which the primary key does not exist, they are known as a weak entity set. So here you can see the definition is given. An entity set that does not have a primary key is referred to as a weak entity set. This question was also asked for short note, or you can say 5 marks, types of entity set with example. So you have to write both the types, strong and weak entity set. Okay. So now here you can see uh, an entity set that have a primary key we saw as a strong entity set, and the entity set which are not having the primary key are known as a weak entity set, right? So this is the definition between those two. Now, what about the weak entity set then? How they are represented in ER diagram? How they will identify that their entities present inside them, right? That is a big question. So for that, these strong entities help your weak entities for their identification, and hence these strong entities are known as identifying entity set. Okay, the existence of the weak entity set totally depends on the existence of a identifying entity set. Identifying entity sets mean strong entity set. How that we will see. It must relate to the identifying entity set via a total or one to many. Always when you are having weak entity set, that weak entity set is connected to the relationship via total participation. Always. Why? This is shown here. Via total. Why total? Because the weak entity set identification is totally depends on your or other side entity set, that is a strong entity set which is connected to the same relationship set. I will show you that with the example. Right now, just remember this. The weak entity set need to be connected to the relationship set with the total participation. Or you can say one-to-many relationship. That is many at your weak entity side. Fine. So now here, identifying relationship depicted using a double diamond. Now, this weak entity set is represented with double rectangle. Okay, and the relationship to which it is connected is represented with a double diamond. Fine. So that is known as a identifying relationship set. Okay, that all we'll see next slide with example. This is one of the important part. Discriminator or partial key. Weak entity set is not having primary key, right? But they have some key. Some key is present with that weak entity set. We can say it is not uniquely identified, but for some part it is giving me some identification. So that is known as a discriminator or partial key. Okay, discriminator or partial key of your weak entity set is the set of attributes that distinguishes among all the entities of a weak entity set. Okay, so weak entity set is not having primary key, true, but it is having one of the key for it, that is known as a partial key or discriminator. Usually this question is this, anyways you have to write in answer, but usually this is asked during your viva or practical exam. What is a partial key, or which key is already present with a weak entity set? So you should know the answer, both names, partial key or discriminator. The primary key, how then primary key of weak entity is calculated, or how the primary key of weak entity is identified, is nothing but the primary key of weak entity set is nothing but the primary key of strong entity set on which the weak entity set existent dependent plus the weak entity set's discriminator key. Okay, so that is here with the example. See here, you can see this is double rectangle. This payment is my weak entity set. This is identifying relationship with double diamond, and this is showing total connection, two lines, total participation, right? So remember, this has to be common when you are showing the weak entity set into your ER diagram, and always there is one or two weak entities present in a ER diagram. Okay, so now here you can see payment is having payment number, right? But only payment number is not sufficient for me to identify which loan account or which loan account has taken the payment, right? For which account I am paying the payment. I am having where it is going, I don't know exactly, right? So this payment number is a key for this weak entity set, which is represented with dotted line. So this is known as a partial key or discriminator for payment. Okay, now I have to identify the primary key for my payment, otherwise I cannot show the table I can in my database for payment because it is not having the primary key. So the weak entity primary key, that is the primary key for payment entity, is nothing but primary key of the identifying entity set on which this entity is dependent. So that is connected via this relationship, that is a loan. Loan is a strong entity who is identifying my payment relation. What is the primary key of loan? That is a loan number. So that will come as one of the part of my primary key of my weak entity set plus the discriminator key, that is a payment number. This. So the primary key together for my payment entity set, that is weak entity set, is nothing but primary key of the identifying entity set plus the discriminator or partial key of my weak entity set. Suppose here I am having some one more entity set connected, which is, you can say, strong. Suppose right now I am saying account, and account is an having attribute primary key as a account number. So this account number, if it is a primary key for this account relationship and it is connected to this relationship, means it is showing that it is also helping in identification of my payment. So this account number will also come over here as a primary key for my weak entity set. Okay, clear with this? Okay, another thing, suppose this is one weak relationship. Instead of using the ternary, this account I can also show like this payment, and here I am having weak relationship set, that is identifying. I am having some name over there, a payment done through, and here I am having this account. Suppose this entity is present over here, account, and it is having the, here it is total, and here it is account and having account number. So again, same thing I have represented in this way. So for this weak entity set, you have to identify for how many relationship it is connected with the strong entities. So those all primary keys will be part of your weak entity set primary key. Clear the concept of weak entity set? In weak entity set, I just told you that weak entity set is nothing but your the entity set which is not having the primary key. Its existence depends on the identifying entity set, or you can say strong entity set. The partial key of the weak entity set is also known as a discriminator, which is present with the weak entity set for some distinguishing to distinguish some entities from the entity set. It is represented by double rectangle. The relationship connected with the weak entity set is represented with a double diamond, and always the weak entities are having a total participation into the relationship set with the identifying entity set. Now why total, why it is written as a total? As I told you, why the total? Because each and every payment activity is always related with the loan number, then only that payment will be accepted, right? So loan number is always required for this payment entities, that is whatever entities are there in the payment. So payment entity set always related with the loan number, and that's why it is total. So always weak entities, every entity is participating in a relationship loan payment. Clear? So the concept of weak entity set is clear, everyone? Any doubt?
Yes, no doubt.
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Okay. So now here we have done half of the important part of the ER diagram. Few parts we have covered. Now next is the keys, different keys. Now here they have added the keys concept in chapter number 2 as well as chapter number 3. According to them, cover few things in chapter number 2, and again we have to repeat few things in chapter number 3 also. So what I have done, I have taken all the key together and I have added those in this chapter only. So here only we'll learn all the types of keys. So we'll start with the keys. These are the number of keys. Out of this, now in exam, means as per your syllabus, all these keys are not there in your syllabus. As per your syllabus, they may ask you what is super key, candidate key, primary key, and foreign. Most of the time they go for these 4 keys. Foreign key concept, more detail we required in a relational model, that is your third chapter. Okay, but still I will give you the concept of that right now. But still these are some keys which are also, you should know at least what are those keys and how related with all these primary key, candidate key, they are important. So I have added all those things for you. So we'll go through one by one. Yeah. First one, what is a super key? For this key on all these keys on internet, I got one nice article. So I have taken that article also, and I have referred the fourth book also, from where I have prepared this slides. Okay, so that link I will share with you, or I will upload those. Yeah, first question I want to ask you that have you all received the PPTs of chapter 1? I have added in a Google Drive of our classroom. So those were visible or not? Any replies, please? Yeah, I cannot.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Yes, those are visible. So it's okay. Now that only I want, so I can add over there again now. So that is these also I will add over there for all the keys. One note I have for you. So we'll start with super keys. Super keys are nothing but, what are the super keys? Super keys nothing but, you can say, main keys. You can say at the super level. Okay, super key of an entity set is a set of one or more attributes whose values uniquely determine each entity of your entity set. Okay, so that is known as a super key. Every key here, remember, so whether it is super key, whether it is candidate key, primary key, they are going to determine your entity set uniquely everywhere. Okay, super key is a set of properties within a table. Set of properties, all properties which are present in your table, those are together are known as a super key. It specially identifies each record in a table. Okay, candidate key is a unique case of super key. Okay, why we will see it with the candidate key. Now suppose you are having a student as one of the entity set, or we can say one of the table, student table, right? In student we can have number of attributes like roll number, name, address, then class. All these attributes are present for the student, right? Roll number of a student is unique, we know that. The set of properties, all properties such as your roll number, name, address, age, everything together is known as a super key for the relation student. Okay, so your super, usually this concept is very interesting to teach with a board, but now I don't have any option for that. So basically the collection of properties together is known as a super key. Clear with this? Super key. Now next is candidate. Candidate key is nothing but the minimal of your super key. Candidate key is selected from the super key. So first you have to identify the super key with all the possible attributes for that particular entity set. From that, then you will select the candidate key. Candidate keys are the set of fields. Primary key can be selected from this space. Okay, so now in candidate key, I can have 2 to 3 attributes together from that particular set, and I can say it is my candidate key. So for example, I can say student roll number, student first name, student last name is my candidate key together. Okay, instead of taking all the attributes, I have taken those 3 attributes, and I am saying this is my candidate. Okay, a set of properties or attributes act as a primary key for a table. So that is, I am saying this can be act as my primary key. Every table must have at least one candidate key or several candidate keys. It is a super key subset. Always candidate key is a super key subset. Now in previous example of a student, what I told you super key as a, suppose right now we will consider super key of a student as okay, we'll go ahead with this example. I am having student as one of the entity set or relationship set, which is having attribute as roll number, name, address or age or course ID. Fine. Right now we will take this, or we'll say phone number. Then if we required, we can also go for class. Fine. So I have taken this many attributes for my student. So now here in one line it is better to visible. You can see this all together is my super key. So my super key over here is super key is okay. So super key done. Now super key I have identified with all the attributes of my table. Now from this super key I have to find out the candidate key. Candidate key. As I told you, candidate key can be one or more than one. So candidate key I will consider such as right now roll number. Roll number of the student I am finding is enough for my identification of each and every student. So this is one I am considering. Second thing, I am saying instead of only roll number, because many classes will have the same, suppose 1 to 60 roll number only. It is only in order 1, 2, 3, 4. So every class will have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think I required roll number with class as a primary key or as a candidate key. Later on, I thought I'm having suppose division also there. Suppose instead of here, we will add division also one of the attributes. So for our understanding, so my super key will have that. Every class is also having some divisions. So instead of, if only I will consider class, it is not sufficient to identify the student. So what I will do, roll number, comma, class, comma, division also required as a identification. So right now I am considering only these three to identify the student. Fine. So this is these are the three candidate keys I have identified, which can be used to identify the student uniquely. One roll number, second roll number and class, third is roll number and class and division. Okay. So now these three different sets which I am having can be selected as a primary key. But primary key is always one. So from these three, one is selected as a primary key, whether this is a roll number class division, or only roll number. Anyone will be selected as a primary key. So right now, these three sets are my candidate to be a primary key. These three sets which I have identified over here are my candidates to become a primary key, and that's why they are called as a candidate key. Okay, clear all of you why I have taken this as a candidate key? Think any doubt?
Yes,
No.
ma'am.
Yeah. So now because of that, I have taken it like this example, so it is very clear for you. So we'll go ahead with this. Keys viewer, candidate key. So here I have taken one other example. Right now I will not go for that because I already explained you the candidate key. Now next, primary key. I already told you one of the key attribute from this set. One of the candidate key will be selected as a primary key. Now suppose I know that my roll number of a class are totally different, not like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like right now the way we are having XIIT, that is a unique number till your pass out, right? So now I think then I don't require class or anything. I don't require division or anything. So only roll number is enough. So what I will say, I will select the roll number. as my primary key. In some case, I am finding that roll numbers are not sufficient. I require class, so I will select this as my primary key. So depends on your situation. From your identified candidate keys, you will select one of the key candidate key as your primary key. So your primary key is same, can be same as candidate key. Okay, primary key can be same as your primary key. Because sometimes I know that my student are having the unique roll number. So my candidate key will be only this. Candidate key will be only this, because I 100% know that only this is enough for identifying the student. So the same thing is my primary key now. So my primary key is same as my candidate. So it may possible, but always it is not possible, because candidate key always gives you the options. But the situation is like this in some cases. Okay, so there are some properties for candidate keys. What are those properties? The candidate key, which is very suitable to be the main key of the table, is known as a primary key. Candidate key is chosen as the principal means of identifying tuple within a relationship. Should choose an attribute whose value never or very rarely changes. So we have to think about this. The value should not be changed for the candidate key. That will be the perfect primary key. Okay. Now, if I am saying email address of the student, I want to take as a primary key, right? Correct. Every email ID is unique. But suppose right now I am using the Gmail as my primary key for my college, Xavier. Later on, college now provided us xavierengg.com email address. Then everywhere I am using this email address only. Now they have taken us new domain for our college. They provided us a new email ID with a xavier.ac.in. So now I am having third email address. So now what happened? One person is changing from one email to another to another, and mostly they are using the latest one, which is related with the student. So now in this case, my email address is changing. So that cannot act as a primary key. I may delete my email account, correct? So that cannot act as a primary key. Okay. So now there are some constraints. No components of a primary key value can be null. This is one of the important concept, integrity constraint. That is a primary key. None of the primary key, if you are saying student roll number is the primary key, then every student must have the value for the roll number. If you are saying email address, which is not actually correct, if you are saying it is a primary key, then every student must have a email address. Okay, so it cannot be null, because database accepts the null value. Remember this. So primary key will never null value. This is one of the important points. No two rows can have the same primary key. No two students will have a same roll number. No two students will have a same email address, or customer will have a same email address. No two customers will have a same order number. Okay, loan number. So no two rows from the table will have a same primary key value. Attempt to change the value of the primary key must be carefully done. If you are changing the primary key value, that is, for example, in terms I said email address, see to it that you will do it carefully with your database. Mostly you should not go for that. But if in worst case, later on you came to know the value change, and you have to do that. You should be done carefully wherever you are showing your table. It should reflect everywhere, and it should support your database. Okay, and some other properties of the ER diagram. These integrity constraints are very important, because when they are asking the 10 marks question, about the different integrity constraints. One of the integrity constraint is your primary key. For that, you have to write all this. Okay, with the definition and all these integrity constraints. Okay. Then next, the properties, model stability. Because of the primary key, you can identify each and every entity set entities uniquely. Occurrence of minimum fields. Okay. Defining value for every record. Feature of accessibility. If you want to access your table, you can access those via the primary key with the help of primary key. Okay. So primary key is one of the important things. So till now, these three keys were very important as per your syllabus. Then we have few keys. So I have just added the theory of that for your understanding. What is a composite key? Composite key has two or more properties which specifically identifies the occurrence of an entity. For this, I will just share something with you. Various keys. So here they few theory they have given, but in slide I have added the book part theory also for your more clearance. Yeah, composite key. Composite key has two or more properties which specially identifies the occurrence of an entity. So composite key is with where you are having more than two attributes collected together as a key attribute. Then that is known as a composite key. So part of the candidate key when you are selecting as a primary key can also called as a composite key if you are considering more than one attribute. Okay, so that is a simple one, more than one attribute. Then we have secondary or alternative key. The rejected candidate keys as primary key are called as secondary or alternative key. Now in this case we have seen from this candidate key I am having three options. One is roll number, one is this, and third is this. Out of these I will say suppose selecting roll number as my primary key. Now these two I have not selected as a primary key, but they were candidate for my primary key. So these two are known as the alternative keys or rejected. Okay, that is there for alternative or secondary or alternative keys. Non-key attribute, the attribute which is not part of your candidate keys. So now in this case, I have not considered this address, age, then course ID, phone number, as a part of my candidate key. Nowhere, right? So those are known as a non-key attribute. They are not my key attributes. Okay, so they are known as a non-key attribute. Then non-prime attribute, other than primary key attribute in your table are non-prime attribute. Exclude your primary key part and remaining all attributes will be your non-prime attribute. Foreign key, this is one of the important concepts. Foreign key is nothing but the primary key of one table. I think I'll go with this slide. I have not added here. In our next chapter I have added, but I'll explain you the concept, don't worry. The primary key of one entity set is act as a primary key of foreign key in another entity set. Why this is required? Because suppose in this case you can say I have taken that in student, course ID is there, correct? Course ID, student is my one relation. Suppose I am having course as another relationship where course ID is the primary key and duration, these are my attribute. Course ID, course is my one relation and a student is my another relation. Now here course ID is the primary key for my course. Course ID is the primary course and roll number is suppose the primary key I have considered for the student. Okay, So now I have underlined it, means those are the primary keys. I think it is because of red line, it is not visible. I'll add it to dictionary. Now it is okay. Now here, this course ID is definitely related with the student. But where is the primary? It is a primary key of course to identify the course. But always students are related with the course. Student enroll for the course. So enroll is my relationship and student are connected with the course. But if I am not having the course, any part in this student, how I will show the relationship between the student and course? So what I required, student are enrolled for course, but that is through the primary key. So this primary key I will add in this student table, that is known as a foreign key, and it is represented with a dotted line, dotted underline. Okay, so now here student is my relation or table which is having a primary key, roll number, and this course ID is the foreign key, which is the primary key of my table course. So primary key of one table is referred in some another table where it is known as a foreign key. Okay, so this is the same one which is used over here, so that I will come to know students are enrolled for which course name. Here suppose I am having name attribute. So with the help of this, I will get the name of the course for which my students are enrolled, or scheme or duration, everything, right? So this is not foreign key. Clear the foreign key concept, student? Any doubt in foreign key? Shall we move ahead with the foreign key? Next part.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Next is a simple key. Simple key, nothing but having a single field to specially recognize your or identify your record. The single field cannot be divided into more fields. Now, right now we have taken only one field is taken as your primary key. Okay, to identify the records. Though, sorry, that is known as a simple key. So now here student ID is taken as a primary key. So it is a simple key. Okay. In our case, roll number, if we are taking only one attribute, then it is known as a simple key. So if you are having your primary key, then primary key is also known as a simple key. That is a roll number with one attribute, or which cannot be divided further. Okay. So that is simple. Then we are having compound key. We learned about the composite key. Composite key, that is a more than two attribute together. Okay, used to identify the entity set. That is known as a composite key. Compound key is also somewhat similar to that. Compound key has many fields to uniquely identify the records. Same way like a composite key. But there is one difference between these two. Compound key is different from composite key. That is here. Any part of this key can be foreign key. Compound key. Suppose I am having in this example. Sorry. In this example, I am suppose selecting roll number and class as my primary key. Okay, from this candidate key set, I am selecting roll number and class as my primary key. So from this is my complete primary key. So as I told you, foreign key concept is called what? Primary key is completely part of the other relation, referred in other relation. That is known as a foreign key. But these two are my together are my primary key. Out of this, I can use only roll number in some another relationship, part of my key attribute as my foreign key. Part of my key attribute as my foreign key. That is possible if it is a compound. Okay, or for compound key. then only you can say it is a compound key. But it is not possible with a composite key. With composite key, you need to consider both the key attributes together in some another relationship. Okay, so that is the only difference between compound key and your prime composite key. Okay, because any part of this key can be a foreign key, but in composite key its part may or may not be a foreign key. That is the main concept. Fine. And then we have last two. One is surrogate or artificial key. Surrogate or artificial key is nothing but a just born, or you can say just generated key. Okay, somewhere this is not at all related with your table. For example, now I will give you our class example. In our class we have roll numbers, right? But now your roll numbers are in the form of xi it whatever is year 2018, and then 0102 so on, right? But in between some numbers are not there. For example, suppose 808 is not there, 12 is not there, then 53 is not there, so on. Okay, so in this situation, while taking the attendance, what I am finding, this roll numbers which are allotted to you, that is okay, that I have taken as a primary key. But what I am finding here, I am facing difficulties while taking your attendance. So what I will do, left side one column I will add as a new column for my attendance table, where I will just allot a random number to you all, that is 1 2 3 4 5 6 up to last number. Okay, so and I have informed you that these are your number, roll call number, when I will call your roll number, right? So you have to give your attendance accordingly. So now in this situation, that column 1 2 3 4 5 6 which I have added in my table student attendance is not at all related with my table. That is not useful for means to calculate anything or do anything like identifying the records and everything, right? So that is known as a surrogate or artificial. Just we have created for our simplicity or at that particular point. No property has the parameter of primary key, because that key will not be related as my primary key. Okay, the primary key is huge and complex. Now here, that is one example I gave you, and they have given some other example. But the example is clear. This example, second one, you can go through if you want. I gave you simple example for your understanding. Last one for key part, that is your natural or domain or business keys. Now here, natural domain or naturally, they are primary key. They are declared as a primary key. Or SSN, social security number, is always unique in US. You remember that, or if you know that, then social security numbers are always unique in US. So that is, those are the primary keys, right? So here, in our India, what can be a naturally primary key? As I gave you example for social security number for US. So what about in India? Any natural key is there? Yes. So Aadhaar card number is unique for us right now, which we are getting. So that is a naturally primary key. Okay. So here, yes, here we have finished with the key part. Any doubt in any key any student is having? Students, if you are having any doubt in key part, please let me know. Or at least if you are clear. This is a link for from where I have taken the reference for all these keys, as well as for previous your subject part, that is super key, candidate key, primary and foreign key. I have referred the book also with this site. So any doubt any student is having, or we'll move ahead? Student reply in chat. Okay, so we'll move ahead. Next is another last concept with the ER diagram. that is a specialization. We can say extended ER. In an exam, sometime instead of this extended ER, they also asked you they also use the term EER. Okay, that is nothing but the same thing. Extended ER, extended entity relationship diagram. Okay, so that is for your reference. Extended ER diagram. Here, there are three main concepts you need to remember in extended ER diagram. One is specialization, second is generalization, and third is aggregation. Key concept in EER diagram. One is specialization, second is generalization, and third is aggregation. Okay, this question is asked in each and every exam till now. That is, sometimes the question is uh, in ER diagram case study only. They will ask you draw an extended ER diagram where you have to show the concept of generalization and specialization in your ER diagram. Okay. Other question is sometimes that is a short note on generalization and specialization. Third question is difference between generalization and specialization. Okay, so this even sometimes short note on aggregation with generalization and specialization. So these complete whatever we are going to see is very important from your exam point of view. Sometimes they ask the same question for 5 marks, sometimes for 10 marks. So based on the marks, you can decide the example length as well as your content which you are supposed to write. I'll suggest always go for one length answer because it is just explaining all the concepts. Okay, so we'll go ahead with that. Specialization, specialization and generalization. Uh, Generalization. You all have studied inheritance. Have you studied inheritance somewhere in any programming language? Anyone can you tell me? Have you studied inheritance?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So, which language you have studied?
Java.
Java. Okay, you have reached till inheritance. Fine, good. So in inheritance, what you are having top to bottom or bottom to up, something is like that is there, right? In inheritance, one to another, sharing the attributes from parent, or you are having the concept of subclass, superclass, or parent class, sharing the attributes with the child class, and so on, where you are using extend keyword in your Java and so on. So forget that is the Java part, but we require that concept over here. So that is top to down. Suppose I am having something from top, but I require to identify it specially. So that is known as the specialization. Suppose I am having the account. I am having account as one of my relation entities, that is account. But account is okay. I am having account in a bank. But later on, I came to know that my account, or whether it is of which type, specifically the type of that particular entity set will come into the generalization or specialization, right? So here account can be, suppose I am saying in a bank, account can be a saving account, or I am saying checking account. These two types of accounts are there in a bank. So this, when I want to represent, these are the types of the account, but these I cannot add as a type attribute to the account. Okay, I, instead of adding type attribute to the account, what I will do, these two, saving account and checking account, I will show two as a separate entities. So account is my one entity Below that, I will have two accounts. One is saving account, another is checking account, something like this with the boxes, entity boxes. So here, saving account and checking account are two types of my account. Correct, agreed, done. But on what basis you are saying those two are different from each other? I am having the attribute I'm having the attribute for this. I'll write here only. Instead of diagram, I can write account number. Then I am having amount. Okay. So right now I'll take two. Okay, fine. With the main entity, that is my parent class, I am having account number and amount. Out of that, account number is my primary. Right? Clear? Now, I have divided this account into two parts, saving and checking account. But when you are saying they are two different types of account, on what basis you are saying they are different from each other? Right? You are saying these two are different. Are you all agreed that these two are different account in a bank? Correct? But then when you are saying these two are different, that you need to show at least one attribute with these two entity set, which is not common into these two. Right? Now suppose saving account is also having account number, checking account is also having account number, saving account will also have some amount, checking account will also have some account. That is, all the properties of your parent class are properties or attributes of your subclasses. Correct? But there is one special attribute with these subclasses, which is not common in between these two types or these two subclasses. So for saving account, I can say I am having interest rate, which is not there for checking account. Similarly, for checking account, they will specify overdraft amount, which is not the attribute for my saving account, right? So these are the two attributes which are totally present in respective entity set, right? Special class. So I am saying these two are different from each other. So my main concept to elaborate this is, when you are going to show in this concept in your ER diagram, you need to show the subclasses where at least one attribute needs to be shown as a separate attribute. Now this concept is clear, so I will go with our specialization. So now with the account, I have added some special thing. With the account, I have added some special classes. So that is nothing but I am dividing it into further subclasses. That is known as a specialization. Top to bottom. Coming from top to bottom is a specialization. Generalization concept is same way. Only thing, same diagram will come. Only thing, it is bottom to top. Okay, it is bottom to top. I am having saving and checking account. I need to combine them together into the account is known as a generalization. Okay, so concept is same, only top to down is specialization, bottom to top is a generalization. Here many times students make mistake for generalization and specialization. Okay, so we'll go through this. In top-down design process, we designate subgroupings within an entity set that are distinguished or distinctive from other entities in the set that we saw. These subgroupings become lower level entity set that have attributes or participate in relationship that do not apply to the higher level entity set. That is, just now we saw here, these subgroupings are having the attributes which are not part of your higher level, because every subclass will not have that. So those are not part of that higher entity set. Okay. Represented by a triangle component label is a. Is a means, or we can say read out. How you will read out this thing here? It is represented. The notation is represented with this uh, reverse triangle. We can say reverse triangle if it is there. I'll just show. Yeah, this notation is used for representing generalization and specialization. These are my entities. Remember 1, 2, and 3. So they are connected with solid line from account to this triangle, from this triangle to here, and this triangle to here. I will show that with example. So it is represented with this reverse triangle, and it is we have to write in between is. Okay, so E is not visible. Fine. So now here, how you will read out? Saving account is a account. Checking account is a account. Okay. Now, that is the notation. The same notation you will use for generalization. What people are doing usually when they want to show that this is for specialization, then for generalization, what they are doing? They are making it in a reverse way. No, the notation is only this is the correct notation for both the things. Only the way you are reading is a different. Okay, account is a saving account. Account is a checking account. Is a or type of account is checking account. Type of account is a saving account. Specialization and bottom to top generalization. Fine. Now attribute inheritance, as I told you, a lower level entity set inherit all the attributes and relationship participating of the higher level entity set to which it is linked. That just now we saw all the attributes of account are part of the saving account as well as the checking account. That is for specialization. This is the example here. I am having person as my ID set. Person is having attribute. Person ID is a primary key. Name, street, city. I am saying in a company, person can be an employee as well as customer. Suppose in a bank, I am an employee of the bank. Okay, I am employee of the bank. But I can also have my account in my bank. So I am also a customer in my bank. Right? So what happened here? Person can be employee as well as person can be customer in my bank. So that can be considered or that can be represented or for your enterprise, your organization. I am working in my organization, but I have taken share of my organization. I have purchased the shares. So I am also a customer. I am also employee. So person. So employee is a person. Customer is a person. Correct? Both are employee as is one of the person. Customer is also a person for your organization. If you are employee, then you will have salary, but for customer the salary is there. For customer, do we have salary? No, right? For customer, we will give some credit rating, right? So this attribute is present only with customer, not with person. Salary is related with only with employee, not with person, right? And suppose person ID is also for employee, name is also for employee, street also for employee, city also for employee. Similarly, all these 4 attributes applicable for the customer also. Okay, so that is one example. Further, this employee can be further classified. Officer is also an employer. Teller is also as an employer. Secretary is also as an employer. Right? So employee. So these are further types of employees in my organization. But everyone will have some specific attribute. These all 1, 2, 3 will have all these attributes. They all will have salary. They all will have ID, name, street, and city. Correct? But officer will have office number, different places, section. Teller will have station number, hours, total hours worked, and secretary will have only hours worked. Okay, so everyone are having different attributes. So that's why I've shown them separately. So when you are going to use this generalization or specialization in ER diagram, see to it that this is one of the important concepts, showing the special attribute. Otherwise, your diagram is not valid. So generalization is bottom-up process. Combine a number of entity set that share the same features into the higher level of entity set. Okay. Specialization and generalization are simple inversion of each other. They are represented in an ER diagram in the same way. This is one of the important concepts. Represented in ER diagram in the same way. Don't show any difference in representation. Only way you are looking it is a different way. Okay. The terms specialization and generalization are used interchangeably. Top to bottom, specialization. Bottom to top, generalization. Okay. Now after that, specialization and generalization, they can have multiple specialization of an entity. That this we just now saw, right? Employee. Similarly for employee, here we have divided them as an officer, teller, and secretary. This can also be divided as a permanent employee and temporary employee if you want. Okay, and based on that, then temporary employee you can say a contract period you can show as one of the specific permanent employee total years of experience that you can add, because joining date you can add. Okay, so that will come as a specific attribute, something for both. You cannot say salary because both will have salary, permanent and temporary employee. Okay, because your employee itself is having salary. So, or for temporary employee, you can have hours work. For permanent employee, you will not have hours work. That is, the time is fixed. You have to come morning, you have to go in the evening. Okay. For temporary work employee, your salary is calculated based on hours that you can add as a special attribute. Okay. That is given over here, for example. Now, this is one more concept related with generalization and specialization. In ER diagram, when you want to, these are the constraints. When you want to show something like, just now I showed you this example. Employee and customer. I told you that if I am employee of my bank, as well as I am having an account in a bank, so I am also a customer. So these two are together, same employee. So here I will write O, overlapping. That is, person can also be employee or person can also be customer, accepted. Okay, so that is overlapping. Instead, one way you can, instead of this triangle, you can use a circle, and in that you can write over O. Other way, write with this way triangle only is a, and somewhere over here you can write overlapping word. Okay, second one, employee can be officer, teller, or secretary, but one employee cannot be of these three, right? So either employee can go to this entity, either employee can be part of this entity or this, but not together. So this is known as a disjoint. So here in circle you can write D word and remaining things are same, or write this triangle and write this disjoint word together on these three lines. Okay, instead of overlapping disjoint. So that is given. An entity can belong to only one lower level entity set. That is known as a disjoint. Noted in ER diagram by writing disjoint next to the is a triangle. Or second way I showed you circle and D, small d. Overlapping, an entity can belong to more than one lower level entity is allowed. That is overlapping. Okay. Last part, that is aggregation. And then we will next time, okay, aggregation part I will cover in next lecture only. Till here, whatever we have, sorry.